All right, guys, so we're going to have some fun today and take the MBTI personality test. I took this test a couple times years ago, and I wanted to basically see if the results are consistent and whether it still reflects who I am today. Those of you guys that don't know what the MBTI is, it basically means the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and it's a self-serve questionnaire where you basically go through and answer a bunch of different questions, and it puts you in a category. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but I do know that it's been around for a while, and it's helped a lot of people understand who they are. I remember a couple years when I took it, I think I got like a ISTJ or something. And so I want to also see if the results are consistent or if it's drastically changed. So let's go ahead and find out. All right. So the test we're going to be using today is 16 personalities. This should be a free test. So hopefully at the end, they're not going to surprise me with a credit card bill to unlock special results or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So question number 1, you regularly make new friends. And the way that this survey is kind of structured is that it scores you on a 7-scale spectrum of strongly agree versus disagree. And then, of course, the one in the middle is neutral, where you don't have any special type of preference. All right, so this first question, you regularly make new friends. I think when I was younger, I used to, but these days it's a little bit harder. I would say depending on the situation, yes, it's a lot easier. But for the most part, I think I'm an introvert, so I'm going to have to go with slightly disagree. You spend a lot of your free time exploring various random topics that pique your interest. Various random topics. No, I don't think this is true, because I think I have a couple of things that I really enjoy, and I typically stay with that. Now, if someone comes to me and says, hey, let's go ahead and try something, and there's someone that I know and someone that I'm very close to, then I'm more willing to try it. But for the most part, I have a schedule. I have specific things that I enjoy doing. Actually, when I think about it, I am interested in a lot of different things. Sometimes when I'm reading a news article, it'll just pop out and catch my interest, and then I sort of go down a rabbit hole of research on YouTube or Wikipedia. So, I'm going to lean slightly more towards agree. Seeing other people cry can easily make you feel like you want to cry too. Obviously there's a little bit of that influence when other people are emotional and sad around you, but for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty stable and even keeled. So I'm going to go with disagree. You often make a backup plan for a backup plan. I won't lie. I like having contingencies. I like having plan B's and C's just in case. I know it takes a little bit of effort, but I think it's still worth doing. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go with agree. Usually stay calm even under a lot of pressure. Yeah, this is definitely me. I can't tell you guys how many times when I'm under pressure, whether it's academically or in a situation where I have to perform. So I think this is definitely my personality. At social events, you rarely try to introduce yourself to new people and mostly talk to the ones you already know. I think when I was younger, I definitely did this, but I think through business school and just being surrounded a little bit more with extroverted people, it's sort of rubbed off on me. If I had a choice though, I would prefer to stay within my circle, but I definitely force myself to go out there and make introductions. So today I would say this is probably a disagree. You rarely try to introduce yourself. Yeah, I would say this is slightly disagree. All right, so now let's go into the next page. There's gonna be a lot of questions here, so some of these I'm gonna try to speed through, but we're gonna take our time and make sure that we try to get the best results. You prefer to completely finish one project before starting another. No, I like to multitask. I like to do multiple things together at the same time, and I get satisfaction from checking off multiple boxes simultaneously. So I think I'm gonna go with disagree here. You are very sentimental. People who are close to me probably know this better than I do, but I can be at times, but it's not often. So I'm gonna go with disagree here. You like to use organizing tools like schedules and lists, 100%. It's like a structure for me. I like having checklists. I like using my calendar to track and plan ahead. I just don't like to be surprised, even if it's a good surprise at times. And I like to have a plan. So I'm gonna go with agree, strongly agree. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt your overall abilities and knowledge. Small mistakes, not so much. Big ones, definitely. But I usually let the small things go. I use it as a learning opportunity. So I'm gonna go with disagree on this one. You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up a conversation. Not to a complete stranger. Now, there's times when I'm feeling confident and I've had a lot of caffeine, just like I am now, but normally not. So I'm gonna go with disagree on this one. Let's go slightly disagree, because there are times when I've done it before. You are not too interested in discussing various interpretations and analyses of creative works. Well, when it's creative, it's always going to be subjective, right? Everyone's got a different opinion, interpretation, POV. So I guess I can be intrigued by it, but at the same time, if it's just a never-ending rat hole and it just goes on and on and on, then I can get a little bit tired of that. So I am going to go with slightly agree. You are more inclined to follow your head than your heart. Ooh, so logical more than emotional. I'm gonna go with agree on this one. I mean, there are times when and the thing with these questions is it tries to put you in a box, but human beings are super complicated. We're multifaceted, so there are always going to be situations when it's different. But the way I'm sort of interpreting these questions is, what are you leaning towards in most situations? You usually prefer just doing what you feel like at any given moment instead of planning a particular daily routine. We just talked about this. Strongly disagree. Disagree. There are times when I'll give up my plan and be more spontaneous. If I don't feel like working out and I feel like doing something else, then I'll go ahead and do it. But 90% of the time, I'm sticking to a routine. You rarely worry about whether you make a good impression on people you meet. No, that is a strongly disagree. I want to make a good impression. I mean, human beings, we naturally want to be liked. So I'm going to say strongly disagree on this one, although sometimes I don't care. And I'll just be myself, even though it may not be the best look. So I'm going to say disagree on this one. You enjoy participating in group activities. Yeah, I'm a social person. I can definitely do things on my own, but I enjoy group activities for sure. You like books and movies that make you come up with your own interpretation of the ending. No, I like to know what the author or the creator was thinking, and I like to have their version of the story. Certain films and movies, I remember Inception at the very end, I think Chris Nolan left it up to the audience to determine whether or not the little spinning thing fell or not, which was really cool and something that was very unique and special. But for the most part, when I'm reading a book or watching a movie, I like to have definitive endings from the creator. So I will say agree. Your happiness comes more from helping others accomplish things than your own accomplishments. A little bit of both. I definitely want to be successful in my own right, but when I see others doing well, then that makes me very happy too. So does it come more from helping others? I'd say so. That definitely gives me more satisfaction than when it's just my own accomplishments. So I'm going to say slightly agree. You're interested in so many things that you find it difficult to choose what to try next. In some ways, but at the same time, I think my interests have settled down a bit. I know what I like. So I'm going to say disagree. You're prone to worrying that things will take a turn for the worse, sort of like a worst case scenario. Yeah, there are times when I'm not optimistic, and that's what kind of keeps me on my toes, and that's what allows me to think of contingency plans. But I don't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do tend to worry about certain things that could happen, even though the likelihood or probability is pretty low. So I'm going to say slightly agree. You avoid leadership roles in group settings. Depends, 50-50. If I feel like there's a strong need for it, I will definitely take it on. And if I feel like it's a good natural fit for my personality and characteristics. So I'm going to say disagree on this one. You are definitely not an artistic type of person. I used to be. I can be at times. But these days, a little bit less so. So I'm going to say agree. You think the world would be a better place if people relied more on rationality and less on their feelings. 100%. 100%. Sometimes we just get too emotional and say or think or do whatever's on our mind rather than actually thinking about it. So I'm going to say agree, strongly agree. You prefer to do your chores before allowing yourself to relax. Yeah, I don't like to go to bed with dirty dishes or a dirty house. So I like the satisfaction of knowing that things are done and tidy before chilling. So I strongly agree. All right, we're about 40% done. Let's keep going. You enjoy watching people argue. Yeah, I enjoy watching sports shows like Skip and Shannon. I enjoy debate shows and debate platforms, podcasts. When I was younger in high school, Model UN, I think I did that a couple times, just seeing how people use facts, reason, and logic, and sometimes even emotion to get their thoughts and points across. So I will say agree on this one. You tend to avoid drawing attention to yourself. Yeah, definitely so. Your mood can change very quickly. No, I think I'm pretty stable, like I said before, unless it's something very drastic or something that catches me off guard. You lose patience with people who are not as efficient as you. I can be, but depending on the person, if they're like an intern or if they're someone who's really young and junior and doesn't have a lot of experience, then I can definitely be patient with them. But I have a tendency to have a little bit higher expectations sometimes, so I will say agree on this one. You often end up doing things at the last possible moment. Used to, not so much anymore. So I'm going to say agree on this one. You have always been fascinated by the question of what, if anything, happens after death. Yes, but I also try not to think too much about it because it's sort of out of my control. But I am fascinated by it. So I'm going to say agree. You usually prefer to be around others rather than on your own. Yeah, I'm pretty independent, man. I can do fine on my own or around other people. But I would prefer being around myself most of the time rather than with a group. So I'm going to say slightly disagree. You become bored or lose interest when the discussion gets highly theoretical. Yeah, I think I have a tendency to feel a little bit that way, where I'm a little bit more practical and realistic. So if it becomes too theoretical, I think I can definitely lose some interest there. You find it easy to empathize with a person whose experiences are very different from yours. I can be. We're all different. I'd say slightly agree on this one. You usually postpone finalizing decisions for as long as possible. No, disagree. If I gotta get it done, I'll get it done. You rarely second guess the choices you have made. These days, I make a decision and I live with it. You know, if it's the wrong decision, I learn from it and move on. So I will say agree. After a long and exhausting week, a lively social event is just what you need. At times, but I'm also down with just a quick session at the gym, going on my bike, spending time with a few close friends, and just keeping it chill. So I'll say slightly disagree on this one. You enjoy going to art museums. Ooh, depending on the person, depending on the museum, but for the most part, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I'm gonna say disagree on this one. I can definitely think of other things to do in my free time. All right, you often have a hard time understanding other people's feelings. I think I can read people pretty well, both by their actions, their words, their facial expressions, their body language. So I'm gonna say disagree on this one. You like to have a to-do list for each day. Not to this extent, but when there are major things that I need to get done, I'll add it to the list and go through it. So I'll say slightly agree. You rarely feel insecure. I mean, we're all humans, right? We all feel insecure at some point, but for me personally, I don't feel as insecure as most people, I think. So I'm gonna go with agree on this one, but feel free to disagree if you guys know me and think that I capped on this one. You avoid making phone calls. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of phone calls, to be honest with you, or text messaging. FaceTime, depending on the person, but I always prefer in-person contact, so I will say slightly agree on this one. You often spend a lot of time trying to understand views that are very different from your own. Yeah, I'm definitely open-minded. Sometimes I don't understand why someone thinks that way, but I always try to understand where they're coming from. But I don't spend a whole lot of time trying to spend time doing that. So I'm gonna say slightly agree on this one. All right, guys, we're 70% of the way through. In your social circle, you are often the one who contacts your friends and initiates activities. Yeah, I do. Although, depending on the circle that I'm in, if they're a lot more social than I am, they're oftentimes the one initiating. So it really depends, but it's probably 50-50. But I'll say slightly agree on this one. If your plans are interrupted, your top priority is to get back on track as soon as possible. Yeah, I would say I like to get back on schedule if possible. You are still bothered by mistakes that you made a long time ago. No, I'm not. I learned from it. I made peace with it, and I'm good with that. So I'm going to say strongly disagree on this one. I mean, we all have regrets, right? We all wish we could have done something a little bit different, but I try not to let that bother me too much. You rarely contemplate the reasons for human existence or the meaning of life. There are times when I do feel metaphysical and I do feel like, hey, there's something more out there. What does that look like? But it's also super theoretical and it's oftentimes not very useful to the current state. So I'll say slightly agree on this one. There are times when I do feel that way, but for the most part, I like to have my foot on the ground. So I'm gonna say agree. Your emotions control you more than you control them. Strongly disagree on this one. I think we covered this many times. You take great care not to make people look bad, even when it is completely their fault. Unless it's super deserved, but I like to kind of cushion it a little bit, and depending if they're like super sensitive or if they need to really learn their lesson, then, you know, all bets are off, but I do try to soften the blow. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than organized and consistent efforts. I'm gonna go with disagree. When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it will take them to feel disappointed in you. Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the insecurity and having a little bit of doubt and knowing that I'm not even close to perfect and I make a lot of mistakes. Of course, especially if it's someone that you respect and someone that you look up to. So yeah, those feelings definitely come up from time to time. You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm a social person, even though I like being independent many times on my own. But in a job setting, I like the cross-functional aspect of things and working with many different people. So I'm going to go with strongly disagree on this one. You believe that pondering abstract philosophical questions is a waste of time. Yeah, I think I can be. There's times for it, but for the most part, if you're spending all your time, thinking about things that are out of your control or things that you don't know for sure, then it's like, what are you doing with your life, right? I'm definitely glad I didn't study philosophy in college for sure. You feel more drawn to places with busy, bustling atmospheres and quiet, intimate places. I'm a little bit more of a chill guy. If I'm in a setting where it's just too crazy and loud and there's times when I do enjoy that, depending on the people that I'm with, but for the most part, I like to be in a little bit more of a quiet setting. So I'm gonna go with disagree on this one. You know at first glance how someone is feeling. Yeah, I think we talked about this. I think some of these questions they ask you with a slightly subtle or slightly different take on it. But I think I answered this one before, so I'm gonna go with agree on this one. All right, I think we're almost there. Home stretch, guys. You often feel overwhelmed. I think I manage my stress pretty well, and I manage my time pretty well. So the feeling of being overwhelmed, even when it does happen, I try to manage it. So I'm gonna say disagree. You complete things methodically without skipping over any steps. Yeah, I like to have structure and order in most things. But not all the time, it depends. But for the most part, I lean towards being a little bit more methodical. You are very intrigued by things labeled as controversial. Depending on the topic, right? And we're not going to get into some examples here, but for the most part, I would say it interests me, but at the same time, if it's super divisive and there really isn't a right or wrong answer, then it's kind of like, why spend too much time on it? But I am definitely intrigued by it. You would pass along a good opportunity if you thought someone else needed it more. I've definitely done that in the past, especially if I know that it fits that person a little bit better and if they could use it more than I could. So yeah, I'll say agree. You struggle with deadlines. Nah, if I have a deadline, I know what I need to do and I'll sort of work backwards and get things done and work in sort of sequential order to get things done. So I'm gonna go with disagree, strongly disagree. You feel confident that things will work out for you. Yeah, I'm a pretty confident, optimistic person, as you can tell, if you haven't guessed it by now. Your gender optional. Okay, so we're at the end, guys. We made it. We made it. That wasn't too painful. I'm going to select male. All right, Titian, ISTJ. You know what's funny, guys? So the last time I took the MBTI, I told you in the beginning of the video that I had ISTJ, and it's giving me the same thing. So the fact that it's consistent with the last time I took this test, I feel good about it because it knows my personality, or the questions are given in a way where it's trying to get consistent results over time. And the fact that I am who I am several years ago, in terms of personality, I think says a lot. So let's just go ahead and look at the ISTJ personality type so that you guys can guess a little bit more. All right, so on the mind trait, it says that I'm 55% introverted, which I think I agree with. Obviously, it's leaning a little bit more towards the right there. Energy, this trait shows where we direct our mental energy. 36% intuitive, 64% observant. All right, so I'm a lot more leaning towards on the right side. All right, nature, what does this mean? This trait determines how we make decisions and cope with emotions. 43% feeling, 57% thinking. To be honest, I thought this one would be a lot higher on the thinking side, but it is 57%, so I can't complain too much. And then tactics. This trait reflects our approach to work, planning, and decision making. 81% judging, guys. 81%. All right, so there you go. No questions or gray areas on that one. All right, identity. This trait underpins all others, showing how confident we are in our abilities and decisions. 76% assertive, 24% turbulent. Yeah, I think I agree with most of these. I definitely was more introverted when I was younger, going through business school and just being exposed to a lot more different types of personalities and people in the Bay Area. I think definitely made me more extroverted, but for the most part, I am definitely more on the I side. Same thing with energy, nature, tactics, and identity. Wow, this test is pretty accurate. Now, some of you guys who know me very well may not agree with these results, but I personally think that it nailed it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's go ahead and read the profile real quick. Copy of your results. Sure. Yeah, why not? Actually, I'll do this later. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the logistician personality. All right, Denzel Washington, I'd be more frightened by not using whatever abilities I've been given. I'd be more frightened by procrastination and laziness. All right, I don't think I'm gonna read this whole thing, but let's just take a look at the summary. Logisticians pride themselves on their integrity. People with this personality type mean what they say, and when they commit to doing something, they make sure to follow through. This personality type makes up for a good portion of the overall population. And while logisticians may not be particularly flashy or attention-seeking, they do more than their share to keep society on a sturdy, stable foundation. In their families and their communities, logisticians often earn respect for their reliability, their practicality, and their ability to stay grounded and logical, even in the most stressful situations. All right, so let's keep scrolling down. Okay, so there's just more descriptions of the ISTJ type. So I'm just going to keep scrolling through, blah, blah, blah. Strengths and weaknesses. All right, so I'm in good company, guys. Sting, Denzel Washington, Natalie Portman. I don't know who that is. Anthony Hopkins, George Washington, Condoleezza Rice, George Bush. Yeah, and some of these random other people. Okay. All right, so these look like they're comments from other people who took this test. I just want to take a look at one more thing, the strengths and weaknesses, which I have a hunch of what I think it's going to show me, but let's take a look anyways. Honest and direct. Yes, I definitely agree with that. Strong-willed and dutiful. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I definitely agree there too. Very responsible. No surprise there. Calm and practical. Yeah, that fits me to a T. Create and enforce order. Yeah, we like to have some discipline in our lives for sure. Jack of all trades. Yeah, we have a lot of different skills and interests, but we have a higher emphasis on facts and stats. Yeah, we're very data-driven for sure. Weaknesses, we're stubborn. Yeah, we are definitely insensitive at times. Yeah, there's definitely times when I'm not as thoughtful as I should be or as sensitive of other people's feelings. Always by the book. Yeah, this one's kind of 50-50. I think I like having structure and order, but I also like to be creative depending on the problem, depending on the situation. I like to play it by ear at times and be flexible. Judgmental. Yeah, I've been called this before. One or two times. Often unreasonably blame themselves. Yeah, very self-critical for sure. Yeah, I mean, we just have higher standards than a lot of people, and so we just want to live up to those standards. Romantic relationship. Okay, so this keeps going. Romantic relationships. What does this mean? Logisticians are dependable through and through, and this trait is clearly expressed when it comes to their romantic relationships. Often representing the epitome of family values, people with the L personality type are comfortable with and often even encourage traditional household and gender roles and look to a family structure guided by clear expectations and honesty. While their reserved nature often makes dating I can't even pronounce this word, guys. I'm sorry. Logisticians challenging, they are truly dedicated partners willing to devote tremendous thought and energy to ensure stable and mutually satisfying relationships. That is me, guys. That is me. This thing knows me too well. Deeply committed. Okay. There's a lot of analysis on this stuff. Of reliable heart. Okay. Friendships. They are not spontaneous. They are not talkative or particularly playful in their affection. What they are is loyal, trustworthy, honorable, and dependable. Okay. I think we covered that. Gift of loyalty. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Better together. Parenthood. All right, this is super detailed, guys. Oftentimes the most comfortable. Their sense of responsibility and honor blends well with a tradition that has been in place since time. To raise one's children to be respected, contributing members of home and society. Dude, I was having a conversation with a friend about being a parent, and I think we covered this as well. They do not take their roles as parents lightly and will make it their work to ensure that this tradition is upheld to the highest standard. All right, this doesn't always come easily for the child though, as logisticians tend to be strict with high standards and expectations. So basically this is telling me that I'm gonna be a tiger father or tiger dad at some point. We'll see about that. Leading by principle. Career paths. All right, I think hopefully this is the last one, guys, because I'm getting a little bit tired. They are usually consultants and sole proprietors, blah, blah, blah. Steadfast mind. Lawyers, officers, military guys, judges, police officers, detectives. I'm surprised there's not a PM in here. Where's the PM? I'm disappointed. Ooh, data analysts, auditors, financial managers, business, doctors. Okay, yeah. I'd say that's pretty accurate there. Backbone of society. Yeah, you guys definitely need to respect the logisticians because we're the ones that make this whole thing work. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I know this was super long, super detailed, but I wanted to kind of go through this and give you guys my own personal take on it. And man, I feel like it's been an eye-opening test and experience so far because I can't recall the last time I took this test where I felt as confident about the results as I do now. And hopefully if you guys want to know more about yourself, I would highly recommend taking the 16 personality test. They are not sponsoring this video, by the way. I'm not getting paid for this. This is just something I wanted to do for fun. And so hopefully you guys can get as much value from it as I did. For those of you guys that know me personally, if you agree with these results, let me know. Otherwise, drop a comment down below, like this video, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.